I can say it with absolute certainty. Kaizer Chiefs players just don't respect us. They just don't respect the badge. They just play when they want to play. What the hell? Honestly, last week you play against Sundowns. You give it your all. This week you play against Chippa United. What nonsense was that? Like, you see guys doing things that you clearly say that they are doing because they are not focused enough. And last week they were doing everything they were doing because they were focused enough, because they're playing Sundowns. So now if we're playing, we're just twerking for Sundowns and saying we need to be focused because we're playing Sundowns. Oh my God, we need to focus at Sundowns. And then we play Chippa. You do understand that if you end up 8th on the league, the team that we're going to play the very first game next season is going to be the MTN 8, and we're going to play against Sundowns. And more likely than not, they're going to spank us. I would rather play the Soweto Derby as the first game in MTN 8 than play Sundowns. I'm more scared of Sundowns than I am of Orlando Pirates. But no, these men are going out there playing as if they are not interested in playing at all. Like, there are other things that I can talk about, like the coach, but if you are given an opportunity as a player, you have to show that you want to play. Like, if we talk about the amount of mistakes that were made today by, for example, Udove, and they were not leading to anything, but those mistakes that he was making today are not mistakes that he was making against Sundowns, because against Sundowns was switched on. Those mistakes that Solomons was making, which ended up making him get subbed off, it's because we're playing against Chippa, so he was not as accurate in everything that he was doing. You look at what was happening, the selection of Afran. I'm gonna talk about the coach right now, but you look at everything else, the intensity with which we are playing, the intensity with which we are pressing, everything just does not look serious. We are better than Chippa United, guys, and it's not like Chippa United were spent. Yes, we saw also their players had cramps and they were tired. That's because they're working harder than us, not because they are just scared of us, because they're taking the game much more seriously than us. Just like we're taking games against Sundowns before more seriously than Sundowns, apparently, because we wanted to win it more. We showed more hunger, we showed more desire. But when it comes to any other team, we're like, nah, we've done it, right? So now we're playing like a small team because we're only performing against the so-called big teams. But against the smaller teams then become Chiefs. So Chiefs is basically now a small team with regards to the mentality of these players. You cannot have that. You cannot have that. You cannot have a team that is a yo-yo. You cannot have a team that is playing well this week and then the next week they are falling off. What the hell is that? You cannot have a team that will play like they know each other and they want to win and all of these good things that we're saying after last week's game, and then you come in today and then you play like that. You do know, yes, can I say something? I picked up my phone and I started just randomly doing things on my phone. That's how bored I was. I fell asleep almost, and that is why I took the phone, because towards the end of the first half, I was falling asleep. And then the beginning of the second half, I took my phone and I was like, yo, yes, I should just watch the Pirates game at this point. Because Lamachidalana was so serious. And Uncle Mengonapi. If you're enjoying the video, by the way, please do make sure to subscribe. But ask me about this other thing. This thing is bothering me. So let's talk about Nabi. So Unabi Nai, he made his own mistakes today, because on paper, playing with Duba and Morris is supposed to be great, because now you're going to have two people who are going to be intense and are going to press. But that's off the ball. What happens when we're on the ball? When we're on the ball, ideally you'll have Utuba and Morris being the two central strikers, and then you'll have Solomons moving up and down, obviously giving us width on the right, and then you'd have Umodi being the one giving width on the left. But the problem with that is Chippa United was just not allowing that. So that ended up finding Morris moving out wide. That ended up seeing Uduba being the one who's out wide, and then in the middle there's nothing, and then you see that Sereno is nowhere to be found, and it's just this whole mess. Not to mention the fact that Ucele is injured, so he was never going to give us anything, and today he tried because he always tries to play, but Ucele is injured. That is just clear. He's not even like Khosi. Ucele today is playing alongside Umart, who's apparently just allergic to Ebola, because you will see him pointing, pass that one. Okay, now pass that one. Okay, now pass that one. Get the ball, you're a midfielder. How? Why are you pointing around ukuthi ubani okumele athole ibhola loya kumele athole ibhola nangu umuntu ukhomba udove manje usekhomba left back manje usekhomba ukuthi liswitch awuyingano nebholeni. So now we're already playing with Ucele, who is not going to give 100% to everything. Why? Because he is injured. And now you have Mart also just pointing ngabulande ball. And then on the other hand, you also have Sereno, who does not have that much energy now because of his age. But in general, numbers and everything, it's just not working. You have Abo Blom coming on now. The energy is just not there. They are making stupid mistakes that you don't understand. You have Abo Lilepo coming in. It's just not happening. And if you were to play Sundowns tomorrow, you will see a different version of this team, because these guys depend on motivation. They don't depend on the fact that they want to play. They don't depend on the fact that they want to represent us. They want to make us proud, and they want to win for the club because that's the right thing to do. To them, it's just about, okay, it's a big game. Today we must show up. You're still getting the money, mate. You're still getting the money. And you're setting yourselves up for failure next season. We will be starting with new players. I'm sure Chiefs will sign new players that Nab will be trying to integrate into the team, and it won't be clicking quite as nice as you would want it to be. And the very first game, usually MTN, if it's not the first, it's the second game. Now you want to play Sundowns with a team that is still trying to gel together. Why are we not thinking about, okay, now it seems like we're going to Africa, but let's also make sure that our first fixture next season is not Sundowns. But if we did really well, if we had beaten Chippa United and then we win the remaining fixtures, then we don't get Pirates either. We get number 3, which could be Sekhukhune, which could be, what's the other team, Stellenbosch. But no, there isn't that thing. You're good, okay, the stakes are high now. Let's focus up. No, there's none of that. It's just vibes. It's just vibes. It's just vibes, and it pisses me off. It just feels like a waste of my time watching this match. For what? Like, it's so underwhelming. You know, and I talked about this midweek. There's just this thing that I don't feel right about with these players. They show up when they want and then they disappear. By the end of the game, Nabi was shaking his head, because even today, when he realized that, okay, Solomon is making mistakes, he did not bring him back at halftime, and then he did not bring back Umoris because he was not giving us anything. Good time to make substitutions. The last sub that Nabi made was in the 76th minute. So from the coaching point of view, he almost got everything right, but I do not know why Musheni was sitting up there and was not ready to come on. Because we are still trying to keep control of the game. Mart, when we need him in games like Game Sundowns, where the opposition is much better than you, he's brilliant in those games. But today, he's not. Like, I see Liverpool, like, watch Liverpool when they're losing. I've seen Liverpool take off Konate, a defender, centre back. They bring on a striker, and then now they're going to have their defensive midfielder Gravenberg playing as a defender but also playing as a midfielder at the same time. You see them taking off a left back with Tsimikas and then bringing in Uchots. They are playing with 3 strikers now, 2 wingers, and then 2 defenders. Alright, we're still maintaining the same number of attackers, the same number of defenders, although the team that we're playing against is clearly looking for a draw, and they're just sitting back now. There were times where Chippa United were in the ascendancy and they looked like they were threatening, but that happened in the first half. In the second half, we're now the ones who are attacking them, but we just were not getting there because we're scared to make those risky subs and say, you know what, we can see Uti right now. Ukwenika is not needed, or we can see right now ukuthi perhaps since we're attacking, just take uDove forward. Angithi wana cross the ball not to pre lapha 18, but isafuna ukcross dlala kumuntu kozokwazi ukuheada. Manchester United, they won their last game against Lyon because Maguire was now a striker. He's a defender, but his abilities mustn't desperate. They were crossing the ball. So why not push a ball or push Udove, get him into the box, cross the ball. It's in shape here too. It still must stay the same all the time. Where is the risk? Where is the hunger? Where is the desire? Where is the effort? We're playing with so much fear. It's infuriating. Playing like a small team. It pisses me off.